Sony's finally copying the NES and Super Nintendo Classic Editions, and why shouldn't they, you dingoes? It was awesome when Nintendo did it, and if you ask my moderately attractive ass, it's awesome that Sony's releasing their own classic console as well, even if it is just an obvious ripoff. Why is this awesome? Well, warm up your horse cheese, crank the volume up full blast, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the Pulitzer Prize winning Cameron, to tell you why Sony should rip Nintendo's Classic Edition consoles off. When the PlayStation Classic was first announced, there were 3 different kinds of reactions depending on where you looked. The first reaction was from people like my father who didn't give a monkey's nutsack. The second was from people who were excited they were going to have a nice collectible to display in their living rooms while also being able to play classic PS1 games. But the most popular reaction seems to have been, "Holy carp, I can't believe Sony's copying Nintendo again. Hey everyone, come look at Sony stealing ideas from Nintendo. Let's pull the entire company's pants down." And most of the people who were excited for the console that fell into the second category are still in awe at how blatant Sony was about copying Nintendo's idea. But if you're gonna copy somebody's idea, then the best way to go about it is to just own it and rub it in everyone's face. Which is exactly what S-Dog's doing. Whether it be pictures of the console being in people's hands to cater to the demographic of people who like to smuggle things across borders, or the fact that they just straight up named it the PlayStation Classic, it's clear that Sony knows what they're doing and they're not trying to fool anybody. I mean, would you rather the console have been twice the size of the original PlayStation instead? And if you think about it, don't you think it'd have been kinda stupid to call it the PlayStation Vintage Edition? That'd only make it come off as second rate. Calling it the PlayStation Classic's just Sony's way of saying, you all know what it is. I'm not saying I think it wouldn't sell as well with a different name, but PlayStation Classic's just more honest. It's better to just say frig it and duplicate something, rather than altering it slightly while trying to convince yourself it's fooling anybody like how Sony did with the PlayStation Move a few years ago. Whenever a company's stubborn just for the sake of being original, we end up with things like Nintendo's online service that really should have just copied the PSN or Xbox Live. I mean, DC made movies before Marvel, but when Marvel decided to make movies, people weren't saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe Marvel's copying DC." I mean, just look at them making movies that are also coming to theaters. And, oh my god, can you believe it? The home video releases are on the exact same format? I can't believe how blatant they are about it. I would have made that analogy over whichever company made action figures first, but I really don't know who did. The point I'm trying to make though is, why shouldn't Sony do something just because they didn't think of the idea first? And while we're at it, I think every notable console maker in history should think about making their own minis. And I know saying that's causing alarms to go off in people's heads since Sega and Atari made consoles with preloaded games even before Nintendo. But come on guys. Come on guys. Those consoles were cheaply made hot garbage. And most of the at-game Sega Genesis models sounded worse than my neighbor Terry's mixtape. And yeah, those consoles might have inspired Nintendo, but what really happened was, one day during a Nintendo meeting, somebody in the boardroom suggested that Nintendo should re-release older consoles with preloaded games themselves. To which Nintendo President Genzo Kurita said, "Alright, but how could we make ours different?" To which the whole room responded, "Well, we could make ours actually good and not release 47 different models within a 2-week time span. Except for maybe like a special gold model or something." And the president was like, "Alright, let's do it." And in my opinion, Nintendo's mini consoles being made with quality is different enough to not be a ripoff. But if you're one of the Sony fans in denial that they're stealing ideas from Nintendo again, then consider it a compliment that people are saying the PlayStation Classic's copying the NES and SNES classics. Because the main reason people are saying that's because the PlayStation Classic's being made properly, and if something's made well and everyone likes it, then there's no shame in the core idea not being 100% original. Because nobody said Sony was copying Nintendo when they released a home console, did they? Of course not, just like nobody said Nintendo was copying Atari. I mean, Sony's obviously not putting the same games on the PlayStation Classic as the NES Mini or anything like that. And at the end of the day, the PS1's a completely different thing from any of Nintendo's consoles. Besides, do you really not want the PlayStation Classic? Surely the people who are just gonna leave comments about emulators and Raspberry Pis don't. And don't get me wrong, emulators and Raspberry Pis are great and everything, but to those people who think it's stupid to buy classic consoles, all I've gotta say is,
you just don't get it, do you? You don't.
The original PlayStation sold over 100 consoles worldwide. 100. And given the fact that it sold out at Walmart and Best Buy and was scalped out the ass on eBay within a day, I'd wager that a few people are interested in its Classic Edition. So even though people are calling it a ripoff, Sony surely doesn't care one bit, because they're doing something that's just as easy to do as it is cool. It makes them a lot of money and everybody else happy, or at the very least unaffected. And like I said, no matter how they shaped it or named it, it's obvious that they're copying Nintendo, so why not be in your face about it? And I bet if there weren't any potential legal troubles involved, Sony would have had the audacity to put the word edition in the title as well. In addition to the straightforwardness of copying Nintendo's Classic Editions coming off as honesty, it also simultaneously serves as a middle finger to the people making fun of it who are more often than not gonna buy it anyway. I just hope that if Sony's gonna go all the way with their open recreation of Nintendo's Classic Edition consoles, that they'll make it easy to hack as well. Because no matter which 20 games make the cut, there's just no way you're not gonna end up with an uproar over missing games. And there's a lot of PS1 games that hold up very well to this day, but there's also others that might not have aged as well, but are still a big enough part to the PlayStation's legacy to where it just feels wrong to exclude. include them. So if we're able to hack and add whatever games we see fit, then the game selection's completely irrelevant anyway. Hell, Sony could copy Nintendo even more by pretending they don't want us to hack it and then doing absolutely nothing to prevent it besides saying, "Ah, guys, come on, don't hack that. Nah, that's ignorant." I know my advocation of adding ROMs may cause some people to call me an entitled brat and that I should be happy with what we're getting, which may be true to some extent, but don't be a wiener, cause I own physical copies of most of the good PS1 games anyway. And even if I don't own physicals of some of the ROMs I add, buying them in the aftermarket won't support the original creators anyway. All I know is that as far as classic consoles are concerned, Sony's damned if they copy Nintendo, damned if they change it for the sake of being different, and damned most of all if they don't release one at all. What do you think though? Do you care that Sony's copying Nintendo? Or are you just happy that we're getting a PlayStation Mini? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll pin whatever I find most entertaining. Don't forget to like and share this video to help this channel grow. Press the subscribe button if you're a super mega badass. And thank you from the bottom of my ass to all the sexy beasts who support us on Patreon. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.